off the heels of the great Superman teaser, we now have a new episode of Creature Commandos to talk about. Now, it's been a week since this has come out, but I wanted to watch this episode twice so that I could give a much better opinion about this episode and tell you guys kind of what's going on. So here we'll dive into it. So this episode follows up episode 3 of Creature Commandos, which we just focused on G.I. Robot. Rest in peace, that was an iconic character. This episode will be focusing on 2 major storylines. We'll be focusing on Weasel, and we'll be focusing on what's going on not only with Weasel, but also what's going on with the character of Frankenstein, played by David Harbour. And I hope you guys aren't sick of David Harbour, because we're going to be talking about David Harbour a lot tonight. Not only will we be talking about him in Creature Commandos, he will be coming up in our What If reviews as well. But we got to talk about it specifically in Creature Commandos. Also, speaking of Creature Commandos, I was going to make a separate video for this, but I think I'll just mention this video. If you guys are a fan of Creature Commandos, the last episode of Creature Commandos will not be the last episode for you guys. You guys do get to look forward to a Season 2. A Season 2 is greenlit. That being said, let's dive into Creature Commandos. And this episode by far has some of my favorite things in it. It has some great action, but it also has great world building and is great just comic book television in general. So, Creature Commandos episode 4, divided up in multiple storylines. So let's talk about the Weasel storyline first, okay? So we've been told in Suicide Squad that Weasel they killed 27 children. We've found out in this episode that that's not true. And that the cops intervened and it was actually a very bad situation. And James Gunn is such a good writer, he actually makes you care for Weasel. Like, throughout the present day stuff, you get to see Weasel with the team, and, you know, he has a lawyer and they're trying to prove his innocentness, and they actually build up to seeing why you actually believe he's innocent. And I think that makes this episode so strong as a highlight of it, for sure. But then, I think the best storyline of this episode is, so after we have a goodbye with the princess, we go back to, we'll talk about these 2 big things first. So then we go back to the, to our base, and where we bring Cersei in there, and we get Viola Davis back for an episode, which is iconic, as Amanda Waller's in the DCU now, which is amazing, as she was already pretty great in the DC Extended Universe. And so here we get to see her, actually, she goes and talks with Cersei. We have some great Glinda references, even some Star Wars mind trick references, which is fantastic. And while Flag is listening from the interrogation room, you're going to see Amanda Waller gets a look into the future. And we find out the princess is actually not going to be a good guy. She's going to be the cause of the doom in the future. And you have her with all our main heroes of the new DCU, Batman, Superman, The Flash, Peacemaker, even Vigilante. They're all dead in this future reality, and it's at the hands of Grodd and Princess Rosovich, I believe is how you say her name. And the voice acting is incredible in this episode. I love this part of the episode. I think it just kind of is cool getting an inner look at the world building of the DCU in a parody series like this, and I think they did a brilliant job with it. But now the biggest part of the episode. Throughout all this going on, Rick Flag is being hunted by none other than David Harbour's Frankenstein, because David Harbour's Frankenstein throws these tantrums and thinks that Rick Flag Sr. is trying to steal the bride from him. But that's not the case, because he actually cares about the princess. So this is really interesting in terms of storytelling. But the best thing about this is we find out that after an incredible fight scene between Rick Flag Sr. and Frankenstein in his apartment, that Frankenstein actually views his love story with the bride compared to some of our most famous movies in pop culture, like Titanic. We get some really good Titanic references. And also, David Harbour is an incredible talent. I mean, you have Stranger Things, you have the Marvel Universe, now DC. This man is killing it. Violent Night, I was going to mention in the Christmas season, like, this dude's amazing. Like, in this episode, he plays this character different enough from Red Guardian, hilarious, throwing these adult-sized temper tantrums, and I loved it. I love this part of the episode. I love David Harbour being used in this way. I think him acting like a child, a total man-child as Frankenstein, is awesome. And the bond he has with Rick Flag Sr. makes this episode even stronger. I love this episode of Creature Commandos, and then we end this episode with Rick Flag Sr. didn't want to go after the princess, since the way that Amanda Waller said is, your judgment can't be trusted since you bumped uglies with her, it makes you think that you know her. And so then he went to go save her before he met up with David Harbour. But a new team, after a vicious attack in the cafeteria, the bride demolishes a former inmate in the cafeteria, and you get great banter with her and Nia, and they talk about and it ends up being that Dr. Phosphorus actually had saved all of them, and then they got to keep their crappy food, which was pretty impressive. And so I think that was nice. And in the end, they all got to talk about what their mission is, even though they don't know what it fully is. They know they're doing something without Flag, and that's gonna be interesting where we head into episode 5. But I really love this episode. It's easily my favorite of the show so far. I'm giving this one a 9.5 out of 10. It's very strong, very good episode of Creature Commandos. Loving this show. Curious to see what you guys think about Creature Commandos. Do you guys enjoy the show? What's your favorite episode so far? Who's your favorite characters, and what interactions are you enjoying so far? Let me know. Also, I wanted to establish that in the flash forward, we see it's Wally West as Flash, not Barry. That could be very telling for the future. So, anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this little breakdown review. Make sure you stay tuned for the next one. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.